Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to be talking about the 13th Doctor and why I think the 13th Doctor is a failure. Because I do think overall the 13th Doctor is a failure. She doesn't consistently feel like the Doctor to me. I think she has a lot of character flaws, which she's not the first Doctor to have character flaws, but I think it's the first time I've ever had a Doctor where I don't feel like they're the Doctor. I can't click and connect with this Doctor like I can others. And I'm going to cover several different reasons for this. I'm going to start off with, I think, the main one that jumps out at me, which I've discussed before on the channel, so you'll heard me mention this before, but I'm going to go in depth on that, and then I'm going to move on to some other stuff as well. And the main reason for this, which occurred to me as I was watching Flux, is that this Doctor's always playing catch-up. She's always on the back foot. She never seems caught up with events or 3 steps ahead or 4 steps ahead like a lot of other Doctors, like all other Doctors, honestly, to one extent or another. Most Doctors, some of the Doctors, I should say, feel like they're ahead of the game. You know, you have what I call Chess Master McCoy, who feels like he's a dozen moves ahead in a lot of his stories, especially in Season 25 and Season 26. And then you have Troughton a lot of times, who seems like he's got a good idea of what's going on. Tom Baker a lot of times, like in you look at Planet of Evil, he has a very solid idea of what's going on. Or at least they don't feel behind. They feel in control of the situation, whereas the 13th Doctor always feels about 70,000 steps behind, and she just always seems confused and bewildered and flustered, and she seems, I've never seen a Doctor with such a lack of confidence. Most of the Doctors seem very self-confident, to the point of arrogance at times. Self-confidence can be a virtue and a flaw when it gets to that point of arrogance. Tennant's Doctor has a lot of that, although he's not the only one, to be fair. But this Doctor seems to have such a low self-esteem for reasons which I will circle back to later, actually. But you see her playing catch-up so much. Flux was a really good example of this, when she just constantly seems lost and not knowing what's going on, and people are in danger, and people are dying. Lots of people are dying. Oh my goodness. Lots of people dying. You look at previous Doctors like Matt Smith, and you look at the 11th Hour, and everything that's going on, and Earth about to be destroyed because that race wants to destroy Patient Zero. And you never see Matt Smith, despite being newly regenerated and still not 100% recovered from it. He really hits the ground running, and you never really see him flustered or not in control or not confident. He hits the ground running. You look at that speech, 20 minutes, I can do it. I can save it. You know, he's so confident when he's telling Amy about it. Catch, I can save the world. I can do all of this, but I need you to believe for 20 minutes. He's confident the whole time. When he's chained up, when she's got him in the, he's talking, he's with her and he's talking to the creature when it looks like the guy and the dog. It's 2 of them. No, it isn't. Look, see? I got the voice muddled a bit. He's confident. He's not afraid. He's trying to analyze the situation. He's figuring it out. He doesn't have time to be afraid because he's sorting everything out. I absolutely love the 11th Hour. It's my favorite post. Well, I think it's objectively the best post-regeneration story. It's probably my second favorite after Robot, subjectively. But he's so confident. I love that at the end when he's, what's that? No screwdriver, no TARDIS, who the man? I'm never doing that again. I love that. He's so confident with Patient Zero. And there we go, and we're off. And of course, right at the end, when the alien threat leaves and he immediately calls him back, give me your phone. You here, it's a Class 5 planet, and you were just gonna burn it. Back here, now. He calls them back. They're like, they were leaving. Leaving is good, never coming back is better. And he stares them down, this whole race that can destroy the whole planet. He's just like, hello there, the Doctor will see you now. That is the Doctor. And that whole bit when he just walks through and goes, hello, I'm the Doctor. Basically, run. And they leave. That is the Doctor. that is the Doctor. That's how I knew from that first episode, I'm going to love me some Matt Smith. And it's interesting because I don't think he's ever quite that good. Again, Matt Smith's great. He's my favorite modern series Doctor the last time I ranked him. And especially Series 5 Matt Smith. Love Series 5 Matt Smith. Love Series 6 and 7 Matt Smith too, but he gets a little cartoonish later. But I really love him in Series 5, and I think he's at his absolute best here. He is just... There is this undercurrent of this is a dangerous man you don't want to screw with. And you see that more throughout his run. But I love that speech. I think everything about the Doctor, about how this can be a man you don't want to screw with, is right there in that. I'm the Doctor, basically. Or this is a guy that he could be the nicest guy in the world, but you don't want to push him. He can stop you. And he's confident, that self-confidence that, I don't even have a plan, but I can stop you because I'm the Doctor. I love that when he gives the speech in the Pandora opens. Well, you're sitting up there in all your silly little spaceships with all your silly little guns. Just remember, just remember who you're dealing with, or whatever he says. Remember every black day I ever stopped you. And then, let somebody else try first. Oh, I love the confidence behind that. I love that. That should get me half an hour. That is the Doctor. That self-confidence to make entire armies like the Daleks and the Cybermen back up. You see that in Army of Ghosts in Doomsday, when the Daleks show up in Doomsday. And the Daleks aren't even worried about the Cybermen, but when they identify that one, who is that? She goes, okay. Rose is like, okay, that's the Doctor. What's the first thing you see the Daleks do? Back up. She's like, that's the Doctor, and the Daleks, they back up. That's the name that the Doctor, people are afraid of the Doctor. Even the Daleks are afraid of the Doctor. If there's one thing left in you, one emotion left in you, I'll bet it's fear. The Doctor is confident. When you see Eccleston confronting the Emperor of the Daleks, I love that speech from Eccleston at the end of, not Parting of the Ways, but what, Bad Wolf? Yeah, Bad Wolf, I guess it is. When they first contact him, you will surrender, we have your prisoner, and he's like, no. I said no. It means no. I'm going to do this. I'm going to save Rose Tyler. I'm coming to get you, and I'm going to wipe every last stinking Dalek off the face of the galaxy. Rose, I'm coming to get you. That's the Doctor. You see Tennant when they're like, no, Eccleston. No, it's Eccleston. It's like, you have no this, you have no plan. Yeah. Doesn't that scare you to death? That's the Doctor. Tennant has moments of like that with the Sycorax when he first wakes up in Christmas Invasion, when he walks out on that spaceship. Miss me? Confident. He's not afraid of those people. Let's have a sword fight. For the planet, for the planet. He keeps going when he grows his hand. I mean, he's confident the whole time. Look at Capaldi. Capaldi is always confident, even in Deep Breath. That whole episode, the man's talking to a T-Rex. He's not afraid of it. I will keep you safe. Confident. And then right when he's talking with the robot guy at the end, of course one of us is lying. Confident. That whole story. Confident. Post-regeneration story. Confident. And it's I love in A Good Man Goes to War. I talked about this in another video recently. When he shows up disguised as the monk to save Amelia. I'm already here. Hello? Ah, that's right, it's me. Point a gun at me if you like, if it makes you feel better. I love that. Amelia Pond, get your coat. Confidence. That's the Doctor. I love all of that. And it's the classic Doctors are like that. You look at Planet of Evil. Tom Baker knows what's going on. Tom Baker's never behind in Planet of Evil. He knows that they're on that planet. It's bordering between antimatter and matter universes. You give it a word, nothing, to cover your ignorance. Then you came up with another word, antimatter. And then Tom Baker, you see there's several scenes in that when Tom Baker is kind of staring far away. And I feel like he's gone to that mental TARDIS like we see in Heaven Sent. And again, that's the Doctor. The Doctor is always analyzing everything that's going on around him, taking everything in, narrowing it down, like Eccleston says in Boomtown. When he says in Boomtown, when they're figuring out who it is. What's it, Boomtown? No. The Slovene two-parter, I forget, World War III. narrows it down. Well, they do this, narrows it down. That's the Doctor. He's always taking in information, narrowing things down, figuring things out, like his mental TARDIS in Heaven Sent. And I see Tom Baker in Planet of Evil when he's got this really far away stare. He's really quiet, and he looks like he's looking a million miles away, or that he's not seeing anything at all. And in my headcanon, he's in that mental TARDIS in his head, figuring the situation out, analyzing it. How do I win? How do I do this? And that's why he knows everything going on in Planet of Evil. You know, and he knows he goes into that pit. He makes a deal. He solves everything. Tom Baker is always in control in that story. And the classic Doctors are great at that. Hartnell is almost always in control of the situation. He just is. Troughton, even when Troughton is play acting with us, I don't know what to do. Most of the time, that is him play acting, because he's lulling people into that false sense of security like he does while he analyzes. He's making sure people see him as non-threatening, so they kind of ignore him. You see him hunch his shoulders and take that very submissive stance because he's tricking people into not paying attention to him while he can take in everything that's going into a room. And that's when he ends up saving them, or beating them, I should say. John Pertwee, confident. Look at John. You can look at pretty much any John Pertwee story. That is a very confident Doctor. That is a self-assured Doctor. Very seldom do you see the third Doctor flustered. He's figuring things out, taking it in, very stoic about it. You look at, even in a robot for Tom Baker is figuring stuff out quick. You let Sarah go with Kettlewell? He already knows not to trust Kettlewell, and he's recovered quick. He's figured out about the robot really quickly. Professor, I think you ought to tell us about the robot. I love that. One of the reasons I love Robot is much like 11th Hour. The Doctor does hit the gate running. Tom Baker really comes into his own as the Doctor very quickly, unlike some Doctors that take a while to get into the role, like the 13th Doctor really, to me, just settles into the role with flux. You see Peter Davison in Four to Doomsday, again, one of his early stories, and he never seems flustered in Four to Doomsday. He seems very calm as he's taking everything in and figuring everything out. Now, just sit here. When he's talking Adric, stay calm, talk quietly, watch what's going on. I really loved my rewatch of Four to Doomsday because, again, he never seemed out of control of that situation while he's taking everything in, playing along until he can figure out what he needs to do. Whew! This is becoming more long-winded than I intended. You look at Sylvester McCoy. Do I really even have to go into Chessmaster McCoy? That's what I call him. He's Chessmaster McCoy. McCoy is usually like leaps and bounds ahead of what's going on. You look at Curse of Fenric. He's got all this stuff plotted out practically. You look at Remembrance of the Daleks, and he's so many steps ahead. He's controlling the whole situation perfectly. I love him in that. And then even in stories, even in Time in the Rani, he doesn't seem behind. Like when he first wakes up, oh, that was a nice nap. The Rani, what are you up to? He's not taking any crap from her. And even when she injects him and makes him a bit forgetful, he knows something's up. He's trying to figure it out. He knows something's going on. He never feels completely out of control of that situation. And I think the 7th Doctor in Time in the Rani does a better job than the 13th Doctor in a lot of her stuff. Because again, she doesn't seem in control. She seems so lost a lot of times. She doesn't know what to do. We see that over and over and over. She seems behind. Flux, she seems behind for most of it. And it's so frustrating when you see this character that you love and that you've grown up with floundering. And it's so hard because that's not that character. That it does not feel like the Doctor. And again, I don't think this is because of gender. It's not because it's a woman playing the role, because I find Jo Martin's Doctor very confident. I really like Jo Martin's Doctor. I enjoyed her in Fugitive of the Jadoon, and I've enjoyed her the brief times we've seen her since. She seems very in control of the situation, very confident. You see that scene in Once Upon a Time when the Jo Martin Doctor is capturing Swarm and Azure, even though sometimes Whittaker is playing that role, and sometimes it's Martin playing that role, flickering back and forth between them, but that is supposed to be the Fugitive Doctor, character-wise, story-wise. And she's so confident of the situation, so calm, chill, not fidgety and lost. And I think that's done really, really well. Whereas I think it's more the writing, the way this Doctor is written. I think even the male actors, I think you could have Ian McKellen playing that role. I think you could have David Tennant playing that role. I think you could have Tom Baker trying to play that Doctor, and I don't think it would work. And while as good actors, they might could add some gravitas to it, I still don't think it would work because it just doesn't feel like the Doctor at its core. Okay. Now, that's not the whole problem with her. Also, I think you can never fully separate a Doctor from their era. I think a Doctor's era is always going to impact that Doctor to a degree. And part of the 13th Doctor's problem is that her era is weak. I think the Chibnall era is the worst era the show's ever had. And you see this in other Doctors. Like, one of the reasons why the Pertwee era is held in such high regard. One reason is just John Pertwee is a great Doctor, and he's a good actor as the Doctor. But that's not the only reason. You look at the Third Doctor, you have excellent writing. There are very few duds in his era. It's 5 really amazing seasons. Great companions. I like Liz, I like Jo, and I like Sarah. All great companions. You have a producer and script editor duo that can finish each other's sentences. It's like they were twins or something and they can read each other's minds. So well so, in fact, that they stayed friends for many years after that. I loved watching the Terrence and Me special on the season 8 box set, maybe? I think it was. And when it talks about the friendship they had, Barry and Terrence. They were so good at that. So you had this perfect storm of everything going on, and it creates such a good era. Tom Baker's era the same way, especially his first 3 seasons. Well, the Hinchcliffe era. There's a reason why the Hinchcliffe era is so popular. One of the reasons is, one, you have Tom Baker playing the Doctor, and Tom Baker is just amazing as the 4th Doctor. He is. But you also have Robert Holmes as the script editor, and I think Robert Holmes is the best writer Doctor Who ever had. So not only was he writing scripts himself, but he was taking other people's scripts and redoing them and making them even better. And he had final say over the stories, so he could do them the way he wanted. Then you had Philip Hinchcliffe, who I think came up with a lot of great ideas. Then for companions, you had Sarah Jane and Leela, which are 2 of my favorite companions. Excellent companions. And again, you had a producer and a script editor that got on really well together, plus other good writers. And there's not really a lot of bad, I don't think there's any really bad stories in the Hinchcliffe era. The Hinchcliffe era could be the only era with 0 just outright bad stories. There's a couple of them that aren't masterpieces, are just kind of good, but I don't think there's any duds. Because I love Revenge of the Cybermen. I think Robot is really good. And even The Hand of Fear and Mask of Mandragora, I don't think are bad. They kind of taper off. They kind of lose steam at the end. They run out of gas at the end, but they're not bad. I think it's the only era that has just no flat out bad stories. And then, but even later, in the Williams and his final season with JNT, Tom Baker still has good stories being turned out. I still think Williams did well with what he could. He had the inflation hit that really hurt season 15 and later. And then you had, with inflation just killing the budget. And then you also had the demand from above to make it a little campier and to tone down the violence. But you still had masterpiece stories coming out. You had Horror of Fang Rock. And I will throw my hat for the Sunmakers every time, even if it is a little campy with that one guy being very over the top, the one tax collector. You still have... I think Pirate Planet, which is really good. Ribos Operation is really good. And I think just attempting The Key to Time was a neat attempt to do a seasonal story for that time. Was really impressive. And of course, we still have City of Death and Shada, which I think are great. And I think Destiny of the Daleks is decent. So I still think you have good stories coming out. But I think all Doctors are kind of held to account by their eras. You look at Peter Davison's era, which I think is kind of middling. That's going to vary from person to person. His era is really subjective. But I think it connects to his Doctor, which I find very middling. Colin Baker. You look at all the crap Colin Baker gets for his TV era, and a lot of that is because of his TV era. And you look at how much he's gone up in people's estimations due to his Big Finish stuff, because his character is written better. And he's really gone up for a lot of people because Big Finish has done him right. So a lot of people's opinions of him is related to his TV era, because his TV era just wasn't liked by a lot of people. The couple exceptions to this I used to say were McCoy's era, because I used to say that McCoy was a much better Doctor than his era. But it's occurred to me over the past years, I've watched more of McCoy's work, that it's just his era is underrated. His era is really actually very good. McCoy is a very good Doctor, but part of the reason he's a good Doctor is because his era is really good. I think Sylvester McCoy has the most underrated era in all of Doctor Who. I don't think there's really that many bad stories in his run. I think his era is just hated on for no reason. A lot of people seem to think his whole era is like Time and the Rani, or it has the visual style of season 24, which doesn't actually match the stories of season 24 at all. And it doesn't. That's not a very accurate depiction of the McCoy era at all. The only Doctor I will say that really rises above his era is Capaldi. Because I do feel Capaldi is a great Doctor in an average era. I've ranked Capaldi's era before, where I did this really big chart. And when I did that, half of his stories were in the good, great, masterpiece. Half of his stories were in the bad or terrible. And about 4 of them were in the middle. So it was about half great, half not great, 4 in the middle. So to me, his era is really average. And I have some issues with his Doctor, because I don't really care for that more darker, arrogant Doctor type, much like Hartnell. I'm not the hugest Hartnell fan. But I loved, like, Season 10 Capaldi. I love Season 10 Capaldi. Series 8 Capaldi has grown on me. Series 9 Capaldi I have issues with because he plays second fiddle to Clara too much. But I really think he's the one exception to where he's definitely a great actor playing this character, and I think he rises above his era a bit. The problem drawing this back to Whittaker, this was talking about Whittaker, remember? Is that her era is just not that great, especially I think for a lot of Classic Who fans. I'm not going to say all of them. I know some Classic Who fans who like Series 11 or some of her stuff. But especially if you're not in for the Timeless Children, you're going to have issues with this era. And I think a lot of us, especially as Classic Who fans, really don't like this Timeless Children retcon. And if you're not down for it, this era is going to have some problems for you. I firmly maintain that Series 11 is the weakest season the show has ever had. I think it has no standout episodes. Interestingly enough, this occurred to me just a couple days ago. Going back to my first complaint about the Doctor, not the 13th Doctor, one of my main issue with Whittaker is that she's not confident. She's always on the back foot. She's always behind. Interesting enough, in Series 11, she's more confident. She actually has some confidence in this season. You see her in the very first episode when she's talking to Tim Shaw. Get off this planet while you still have a choice. She's actually pretty confident in that story. Even in Ghost Monument, she seems pretty confident. And then you look at Rosa. She knows what's going on. She knows what she has to do. She faces down the villain. I like when she throws his suitcase and makes him accidentally shoot it. You go back and you watch Series 11. She's way more confident than she would be in Series 12 and 13, which I think actually works from a narrative standpoint, because the exact moment I feel like she loses her confidence is in Episode 2 of Spyfall, when she finds Gallifrey destroyed. I think that just breaks her character, much like you take the Ninth Doctor, and it's very obvious the Ninth Doctor is suffering from a lot of post-traumatic stress from Time War stuff, and it's really neat for the character. Christopher Eccleston got to do a lot of neat things with the character because of that, and the Ninth Doctor is a fun character to watch because of all the internal baggage he's carrying, all the scars he has inside. I think that kind of happens to Whittaker. I think it scars her. I think it hits her traumatically, really, really bad. And I think that's why from that point on, she has a lot more trouble communicating with her companions. I think that's and from a narrative standpoint, that's actually quite fascinating to look at her at Series 11, to see her way more confident, and to see her kind of lose that here, especially when we take into certain things into account, like one, what if Gallifrey was destroyed because she never went back to check on it? Because we kind of get the impression she doesn't swing by very often. So she's probably feeling guilt that she didn't pop back in to check up on them more often. Maybe if she'd been there, things would have been different. But then there's the reveal that the Master did it. And here's the interesting thing about that. Now, apparently the Master destroyed all of Gallifrey. In a way, the Doctor is indirectly responsible for that, because when the Master, Missy, was about to be executed, who's the person who saved her and stopped that? Capaldi. Ooh, Capaldi made a boo-boo. Capaldi fans, ooh, you need to take account. Yes, so, indirectly, inadvertently, the Doctor saved the Master, who later went on to destroy Gallifrey. So, is the Doctor feeling a lot of guilt that she may be responsible for Gallifrey being destroyed? If she hadn't saved Missy back then, would Gallifrey still be fine? Would everything else have gone to pot? So how much of this is because of her compassion for her old friend? So she may be dealing with that guilt inside as well, which is interesting from a narrative standpoint. But you're like, but Prowl, how can you say that your main compliment is that she's not confident enough and that she's always on the back foot, when you say she's way more confident in Series 11, but you like Series 11 the least? Problem with Series 11 is that the writing's awful. And people are like, no, Series 11 has some good messages. Yes, but here's the problem with Series 11's messages. They are blatantly obvious messages that pretty much everyone agrees on at this point. Did you know they did an episode about Rosa, talking about how racism is bad? Yes, but did you know that pretty much the collective world has agreed on that already? We know, at least all, let's say first world countries have pretty much agreed that, yes, racism is bad. You know, so we get that. You don't get an applause when you do an episode that's like, we want you to know we're going to be brave and come out and say racism is bad. Now, if this had been a Doctor Who episode that came out in like 1968, I'd be impressed, because that'd be impressive for 1968. But in 2021, I'm like, yes, we know. We've collectively agreed on that. Rosa's a pointless episode. Demons of the Punjab. Granted, I didn't really know much about that, but it seems like an excuse to talk bad about British people, I guess. I don't know. I liked Demons of the Punjab the first time I watched it. I don't know its rewatchability. But yes, things like that were bad. And I'm pretty sure most people have collectively agreed that the events of Demons of the Punjab were bad. I'm trying to think of some of the other... You look at episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and you look at all the mistakes the Doctor makes in that episode. Grace gets killed because the Doctor can't save her, which is, you know, the Doctor's failed to save people before. Nobody's perfect. The way she stops Tim Shaw is what sets up the problem in the series finale. So the Doctor fails there, and where she sends Tim Shaw causes those people to be subservient to him because of a misunderstanding for a really long time. So that's completely at the Doctor's feet. The Doctor fails there. And then right at the end, the Doctor teleports herself and all of her companions into deep space, which they somehow don't instantly die for whatever reason. And yeah, that's a huge mess up when you accidentally teleport not only yourself, but all of your new companions. She literally almost gets all of her companions killed in the first episode. I mean, she's practically strangling Perry here. It's accidental, she doesn't mean to, but the only reason they don't die is because they happen to get picked up by a passing ship. Convenience. Nothing she does to save them, they just happen to get saved. She fails like 3 times in her first story. Jumping along, we have Arachnids in the UK, where we get to hear the moral lesson of her of, you shot the spider. It was a living thing. Let's keep in mind this living thing was suffocating to death, which is a much more painful death. But yeah, why put it out of its misery? Go ahead and lecture Donald Trump about why it's a bad thing. This is the same Doctor who would go on to commit triple genocide in the final episode of the Vanquishers, you know. You can't do that. You should have saved that spider. Let's go kill all the Sultarans, Cybermen, and Daleks. You're not going to try to save it? Nah, let's not save it. Let's kill them. This is a very hypocritical Doctor. This is the same Doctor who, just in that same episode, had tricked all the baby spiders into going into the room to blow them up. Well, he blew up all of them. Don't you shoot that poor defenseless creature. I'm getting mixed signals here, Doctor. And I suppose I could make a joke about women sending mixed signals. Nah, I'm just not clever enough for that today. I'm too tired. But yeah, this doctor's a bit hypocritical and doesn't quite. I don't quite get the podium she's trying to stand on sometimes. What else is this season? Kerblam is all right. I liked Kerblam the first time I watched it. Because again, the Doctor does have some confidence in it. I just haven't gone back and rewatched it. The Witchfinders I enjoy. And again, as I'm going through naming these, she seems pretty confident in them. She doesn't... I really think Timeless Children hurt her. But again, the Doctor would recover from that. Even Eccleston, with everything he was suffering through, he still seemed confident about his situations. He still didn't take any crap. Whereas this Doctor, it seems like it broke her. Everything with Spyfall Part 2, when she finds Gallifrey destroyed, it just seems to have broken her. Like, it swept her legs out from under her and she hasn't recovered. And then again, of course, she has the Timeless Children thing, and that swept her legs out from under her. But she doesn't seem like she's taking it in stride. She seems like she's just, I don't know who I am. It's so frustrating. And because of that, the rest of Series 12 just, while I like a lot of Series 12, she just seems like she's struggling. And part of that is, it just seems like it takes so long for Whittaker to settle into this character. I liked her portrayal in Flux. I will say that. I liked Whittaker's acting as the Doctor in Flux, because she has moments where she feels like the Doctor. I liked that scene at the beginning of Once Upon a Time, when it's basically recapping the events of the previous episodes, and it shows her in slow motion figuring it out, and how she gets Dan and Yaz into the time stream to save them. I really enjoyed that. That feels like a very Doctor moment. Again, that's kind of the Doctor in his mental TARDIS from Heaven Sent, and I love that. And I think it's in Heaven Sent, one of the things the Clara in his mind writes is, how do I win? That, to me, that's the point. The Doctor, that's the main thing always in the Doctor's mind. How do I win? How do I figure this out? What do I have to do to win? And I feel like she spends so much time just, what's going on? What's going on? What's happening? What's going on? Even in Once Upon a Time, she just seems lost a lot. Like she's trying to figure it out, but she just seems so behind. The whole Village of the Angels, she falls into the trap because she feels really behind. Village of the Angels it tries so hard to be a good episode. It tries so hard, but it has so many fundamental problems that era has. And I really feel bad for it, because there's definitely a really good episode hidden in there. It's so disappointing. And it's so frustrating, because I want to like the character. Because I like Jodie Whittaker as an actress even. I love her in Broadchurch. I liked her in that episode of Dark Mirror. It's just the way she's characterized here. The writing is what hurts her in Series 11, because those stories are just uninteresting. There's not a single Series 11 story that I just has a lot of rewatchability. The only one I've rewatched was The Ghost Monument. It's not bad. It's not bad. For that season, it's not bad. It's watchable. The Doctor is fine in it. Although she kind of goes on her spiel about, I don't use guns, I use my brain. Let's kill all these Soltaran, Daleks, and Cybermen. Oh, I just feel like she fails, because she doesn't feel like the Doctor to me. I get some people like Flux. I get some people like the 13th Doctor. I am not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm here to tell you should go back and watch classic Doctor Who, because I'm willing to bet you haven't seen a lot of it. I am saying that a lot of the core attributes I attribute to the Doctor over pretty much every incarnation, I feel are not present or extremely lacking in this incarnation of the Doctor. Then I've watched a lot of Doctor Who. I have not seen every episode of Classic Who, mostly with the first Doctor. But I've been very clear, if you watch my videos, I am very clear whenever I talk about Hartnell that I've only seen a limited amount of his stuff, or even other Doctors like Troutman that I haven't literally seen everything he's ever done. Or Pertwee. You know, anytime I talk about a Doctor, I'm very upfront about what I've seen, what I haven't seen, etc., etc., etc. But all of the other Doctors besides Hartnell, I've seen enough of their stuff to have a firm opinion of them, especially as someone who's been watching since I was 4 years old. I literally don't have living memory of who my first Doctor is. I don't know, because I've been a fan since like the mid-'80s, because I used to watch it on PBS. So I'm not here to to upset anybody or tell them, you like the 13th Doctor. Oh. I mean, I don't get it, but it's because I have such a connection to this show and this character for as long as I have, since I was very, very little, that when I see an incarnation that doesn't match up with what I think makes this character, and that's going to vary from person to person. That's a very subjective thing. Then, if I see something that doesn't measure up, I'm going to talk about it. It's not the gender. The whole should the Doctor be a man, be a woman thing is a whole nother video, which I plan on getting into that sometime soon too. But for this sake, I'm looking at her simply by her traits, and I just find her lacking. She has moments. I liked episode 6 of The Vanquishers, as I mentioned in my Flux review, in my episode 6 review. She's actually pretty in control in that, and I like the 13th Doctor up to a point in that. The whole genocide thing at the end, and you can argue semantics on that all you want. I'm not here for that. I don't really care for that, but I like the fact she does seem very in control in that situation. I like the fact she seems to have a plan, at least. I don't agree with the plan. I must say, it's a very terrible plan, but it is a plan. I'm trying to remember what that's from. We have a plan. It is a terrible plan, but we have a plan. Oh yeah, the Day of the Doctor. It's a terrible plan, but it is. Yeah, I wasn't going to tell them that. But I like the fact that she is actively trying to catch up to the situation. I really enjoy that scene when her and the Great Serpent are talking, and he's interrogating her, but she feels completely in control of that conversation. Completely in control. Especially as the Grand Serpent is someone who strikes me as he likes to be in control. He likes to be dominating people, and she's completely turning that on his head and taking that power away from him. I love that. I love that scene. I think it's really good. And it shows to me that Whittaker can pull that off. It shows to me that that Doctor can pull that off. You know, there's a part of me that's like, I almost wish she had more time. Maybe she could grow into it. And then there's a realistic part of me that's like, God, no. No. I am ready for a new Doctor. I'm ready to try to get the character back to what I feel the character should be. And again, that's a very subjective thing. Because I do think the 13th Doctor overall has just been a failure. And part of that is, a lot of that is just due to how the character has been created and written. Some of that is down to, I think, Whittaker's acting early on. Because her Series 11 acting, looking back, I have issues with. Her Series 12 acting is much better, and I think her Flux acting is really good. Yeah, I think it just took her a while to come into her own, which is fine. A lot of Doctors are like that. Tennant didn't really, I think, fully hit his stride until Series 3. That's fair. Not every Doctor is a Matt Smith or a Tom Baker. I get that. Or a Patrick Troughton, or a John Pertwee, or Peter Davison, or Peter... Well, not every Doctor does, let's be honest. It even took Hartnell a little while to kind of... which wasn't so much Hartnell's fault as they didn't know what they wanted to do with the character. For him to kind of soften up and be a little more heroic. So, that is my thoughts on that very long review. Let me know what you think of this video, what you think of the 13th Doctor, whether you agree, whether you disagree, and why you feel that way. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications. I have just crossed the 600 mark recently in subscribers. I'm very excited about that. Thank you very much, everyone. Still looking to grow the channel to 1,000. That's my goal now, is to hit 1,000. So if you do watch my content a lot and haven't subscribed yet, please, if you just click that button and help me out, I'd really appreciate that. I also got a new patron recently, the 5th Doctor. That's actually his name, the 5th Doctor, which is interesting. I have 2 subscribers named that, so that's pretty interesting. Which is very possible. I mean, the 5th Doctor is a time traveler, so wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. He's actually my first patron to join at my top tier level, so I'm really appreciative of that, which I'm grateful to all of my patrons, let me say. So, the 5th Doctor, very glad to have you on board. You have some video requests I owe you, so if there's anything you want me to talk about sci-fi related, Doctor Who or otherwise, let me know. Always happy to not only grow the channel, but to grow my Patreon as well. There is a link to my Patreon down in the description below if you are interested in contributing to what I do, if you like what I do. There's different tiers there. I think my entry level tier is only like $2 a month just for general support. Other tiers give other rewards, behind the scenes stuff, voting in polls. I do have a poll up right now voting on a Patreon exclusive classic series review. And there's like 5 different stories to choose from, like the 10th Planet, the Ark in Space, the Ultimate Foe, Terror of the Vervoids, and I think one more. If you would like to join and vote in that, that will be a review exclusive just to my Patreons. I will have a poll up for the modern series at some point as well to vote on which modern series I will be reviewing from the Tenet era. That'll be up soon. If you're interested in that, again, there's a link to that down in the description below. Most importantly, though, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And while I'm thinking about it, this will tell me who watched to the end. Let me know down in the comments which sonic screwdriver is your favorite. I would like to know. My personal favorite is the 9th and 10th Doctor's sonic screwdriver. Anyway, thank you for watching.